my stepdad caught me smoking one time. You know, I was in the bathroom and I was lighting up, and I threw it over the track in the toilet and flushed it. But he came in and there was smoke everywhere. And as he was yelling and screaming at me about smoking and everything and how bad it was and how much I'm in trouble, he was doing it with a Marlboro hanging out of his mouth. I'm serious, you know. So my point is that it's hard to role model stuff that we're not willing to role model for ourselves in our lives and take in. So I would say nurture your kids' self-esteem, set boundaries, be consistent with your discipline, take time with your kids, be a good role model. Next, keep close accounts with your kids. Keep close accounts. Know their friends, knowing where they're hanging out. I would say be their supervisor, and if I could stretch it a little bit, be a supervisor. Depends, you know what I'm saying? Because it depends what you need to do, but know what's going on. Do not be deceived. Evil company corrupts good morals. If your kids are hanging around godless kids, kids who don't care about Christ, who don't have Christian values, chances are that value system is going to rub off on your kid. Again, when kids come, I hate to bring up these illustrations, you know, about my job, but that's what I got to offer. As a principal, I have kids come in and they're doing the wrong things, going down the wrong trail, so I get 2 pieces of paper, I'll get the pencil with the graphite, scratch on one, and then I rub them both together, and as I'm rubbing, I'm just talking about what I'm going to, the illustration. So you're hanging around this person, you're fellowshipping with them, you think that you're going to get good influence, you're doing this and that, and look what happens. And their eyes get big, and I say, see, they rubbed off on you. You didn't so much rub off on them, they rubbed off on you. And that's more or less how it is. So I try to convey to the students at school to make sure you guard your values, guard yourself, and same with parents, you're raising your children. Make sure you be careful who they hang around with, especially who they're dating. And I can go into a whole section on that, I won't. Too much personal stuff with the family here. Okay, the next thing would be make communication a priority in your home. Now I'm going to give you something that I learned about a year ago, and it's profound. Are you ready? Now, parents, I'm not going to ask you for your hand raise. This is a rhetorical question, but how many times do you get into arguments with your kids? How many times does it escalate? I know with myself, with my kids, I have a tendency where it doesn't take a lot to escalate it up. You know, it just doesn't. At school, in fact, my daughters went through my school, and they said, why can't you be more like at home like you are at school? Because you don't yell at the kids at school. I said, well, you got to let it out someplace, you know. But anyway, I told them, I said, you know, the bottom line is that if I can just encourage you with these things, when you're talking with your kids, and when you're having a confrontation, make your voice low, slow, and soft. Low, slow, and soft. So if your kid's revving up the engines in the communication, I hear what you're saying and I understand your point of view. But here's what we need to do as a family, and low, slow, and soft. Because otherwise, when you start speeding it up and you get louder and more, you know, curt in your speech, you know what happens. The next thing you got a fighting match and nothing's going on except just a lot of insults and communication flying around. Let your communication be with grace, seasoned with salt. Another one is show that your love is unconditional. Show that your love is unconditional. Now, the Greeks had 5 words for love. They had storge, which is a social bond. They had philos, which is a brotherly love. They have epithumia, which is lust. Eros, which is a romantic love. But agape is what the Bible teaches, and that's a love that's sacrificial, that's unending, that keeps on keeping on, even without reinforcement. And we are to show, according to the Scriptures, love, not only to our fellow man, but especially in our household. So love your kid unconditionally. There are times you're not going to want to. I mean, if you've got kids, and if you don't experience this, come up, because we're going to get a publisher, we're going to publish a book off your life. But there will be times when you don't love your kids. And you might think, well, I feel guilty about that. Maybe I don't like them, or maybe I don't love them, but we are to love them unconditionally, all the time, no matter what. The next one that Rich and Trina pointed out was, be aware of our own needs and limitations as parents. There are times when you guys got to get away. 3 weeks ago, Lois and I went off to Buca, I don't know what the name of it is, someplace in Westlake, you know. Lois and I basically go to Wendy's all the time. That's the kind of lifestyle we live. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, we're not big on the restaurants. We just don't have a lot of time to do it. But we actually took time to go off. And when we came home, Allison was back from BW, Lindsay was there, and they met us at the door, and they said, "We are very proud of both of you." So like, well, did they rake the leaves? What did they do? Well, you guys went out together to spend some time. I was kind of shocked that they even noticed, you know. But you know, you have to take time for yourself, and I think it's a time for parents to get recharged, spend time together, go for walks. I think it's important because it gives perspective in terms of parenting and doing the job of a parent. And last but not least is pray for your child always. The effectual fervent prayer of a righteous man or woman availeth much. And I would say, pray, pray, pray. I can't tell you how many times I have woken up about 2, 3 in the morning, and I prayed for Allison and Lindsay. Prayed for their spouses in the future, which is kind of a scary thought, you know. I mean, it just kind of frightens me a little bit with that. But pray for them. Pray for the next day. Pray that the Lord would make them strong, healthy, give them a testimony, not be taken by the ways of the evil one. And, you know, all those things. Just pray that God would shield them, that the Lord would just surround them and protect them from all the harms that can come their way. So I've shared with you today about 10 things that I have learned along the way. They're not profound, but they're good principles to live by, good principles to parent. And I think that sometimes because we're so close to the forest that we can't see the trees, that now and then we just need to take a step back, maybe 5, 10 paces, maybe an acre back, and just take a look at our family and say, how am I doing the job? How am I raising my kids? What's going on really?